Hey, this is Neil Bawa, the mad scientist in multifamily, and you're listening to the Mailbox Money Show with Bronson Hill.
All right, welcome. This is Bronson Hill. Super excited for this guest. Awesome guy. I was actually on his show, and I said, man, I got to have you on the Mailbox Money Show. He's just had a ton of experience in the space, doing a lot of different things. We talked in this interview a lot about, is it a good time to invest? What are the best things to invest in, and how do you find a great deal these days? And he gives some really specific examples of how he got started, as well as where to head. So whether you're a passive investor or you're looking for deals and you're shaking trees and you're out there kissing babies, and I'm sorry, that's on the campaign trail, I guess. But whatever you're doing to try to find deals, this is going to be a great interview for you. So let's jump in. Welcome to the Mailbox Money Show. I'm super excited to be here with Agostino Pintus, and he is with Bulletproof Cashflow. He has a podcast I was just on recently. He also has over 200 million in real estate, 1,600 plus multifamily units. He's actively looking at deals now, and he has a belief that multifamily is actually on sale right now. So, Agostino, welcome. How are you today?
Hey man, thanks for having me on. I'm awesome. I'm freaking great. How you doing?
Well, you look good, man. You got a good haircut there as well. You look refreshed. And, of course, there's a saying that God made only so many perfect heads and he covered the rest with hair. So we say that to feel good about ourselves, So, and obviously me, if I could grow an afro, I probably would, but, I'm sporting what I got, and you look good as well. So awesome, man. Well, give us a little background on yourself. I know you've been doing this for over 20 years, two decades of experience. Give us a little bit of your background, kind of how you got started in real estate. And we're going to get into opportunities, but just a little bit, we kind of get to know you a bit here.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I actually started in corporate America, so when I was working in corporate as a C-level executive running large enterprise tech, I stumbled upon real estate. A friend of mine that happened to be working with at the same company, he introduced me to a real estate agent and started getting into single families and small multifamilies, started doing those deals. And she acted as a mentor to get me into these types of deals, right? And at the time, I was learning about the A class, the C class, the B class, whatever, in terms of like houses and areas, and really learning the ropes. And it was much later, though, that even though I was playing around with the smaller deals, which is fine, I decided to make a switch later in life to go all in on commercial. And then when I say later in life, I'm saying maybe about 6 years ago. I did, like, after I got, let go from my job yet again, I had to sit back and really think, how many more times am I going to put the future of my family, the future of my own family, and me really, in the hands of someone or people that don't care anything about you? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. And the only thing that stayed consistent with me up until that point was my real estate business. I had this small little real estate business, and like I said, single family, small multifamily, still had it, and it was making cash flow. It was doing okay, I decided to quit corporate. I left a giant career, C-level executive, and just quit all that to start doing real estate. That's it. I learned syndication, learned how to put deals together, raised money, bought my first deal by myself, no outside money. And then, the rest of it is history. Now we have 4 lines of business. The first line is acquiring stable B and C type workforce housing. The second line is development. So this includes ground up and adaptive reuse of assets like office buildings, things like that. The third line is our blind pooled net lease funds. So we acquire Dollar General, Dollar Tree, VCA, animal hospitals, stuff like that. And the fourth line of business is our education business, education and media. So we help people really get into the real estate game and build success by actual people that do the deals. Like, I'm actually running these webinars personally. So I'm putting these webinars on, or not the webinars, but the masterminds on. It's a 50-week mastermind, delivers a whole ton of value, and you're in a community where you get to share your deals with other people, and you get to feed each other knowledge as well of what people generally think about the deal itself as part of the underwriting. Right. So it's a lot of value.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing. You got a lot of things you're involved with, a lot of things that you've done. And I always say too, when people get involved in real estate, it's not like you start from zero. You can use the things that you learned in your corporate career and your business and your profession. And a lot of people come from finance or C-suite or small business or operations or other things, and they're doing very well in real estate for those reasons. And tell me about that first deal that you did yourself. What was the deal? What was the size? Just give me a brief overview of that.
It was a little deal. It was only like
Yeah.
11. It was 11 units, right?
Okay. That's
And
still bigger than my first deal. Most people's first deal. That's nice, man.
well, and when I say, I mean, my first deal from like way back when was a single family home, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I had an idea, because I had an idea how to put single family homes, but when I really decided that I was going to do multifamily in a much bigger way, I started looking for it, right? And your reticular activating system in our brains, everybody has it, right? Once you start putting it in your mind that you're going to go after a certain type of deal, your brain opens up and starts looking for those opportunities.
Yes, totally.
And that's what I started doing. The cool thing is that I found this deal on the MLS. And that was because the guy who owned it was not, like, he was a mom and pop type of guy, was not actively involved in the commercial real estate space. He just owned this little deal. And he had a real estate agent friend and had her put it up on the MLS. Now, who puts 11 unit multifamily on the MLS? Nobody does that, but this lady did. So when I noticed it was on the market for over 1,000 days,
Wow.
I called up. I said, do you still have this deal? And she goes, absolutely, we have it. When do you want to see it? I'm like, how about tomorrow? So it happened to be 5 minutes away from a place I was consulting at in Akron, Ohio. Went over, looked at it. And in actuality, there's this 2 giant, massive houses that someone took and converted to multifamily.
11 units too. That's 11, amazing. They've been big houses.
Giant houses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these houses were huge, right? And the guy was working on building a 12th unit. It was partially finished. It's like maybe 15% finished, right? Yeah. But it's like, yeah, you can add one more unit over here. I'm like, I'll take it. I paid like, I don't know, 11 or 12,000 a door or something.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. That's incredible.
Stole it. Right. And ended up selling it down the road for 35 a door, right? Like 2 years later. Yeah.
Amazing.
Ridiculous. But I mean, I fixed the place up, made it look good, filled it up with good quality tenants. I mean, it took work, but yeah, a remarkable deal, right? Yeah. But you would never found it on the on LoopNet, on Crexy, on all the usual suspect websites. So you just would never find a deal like that there.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's a really good point. I was talking to somebody who, a lot of times there's just, when we look in places that are non-traditional, we can find stuff of like, here's somebody that obviously maybe didn't know what they were doing or didn't really know how to list a property, or they had some quirks or whatever. But if you're willing to work with people or able to work with them, you can find great deals. And even people in the industry, my cousin kind of got me started in multifamily. He's a 25-year multifamily guy, and he's got 1,500 units, and I didn't really syndicate, just kind of a couple of partners. But he told me about a deal where he had this 25 unit that he was property managing, and the couple was old, and he found a way to set up to like, hey, what if we buy you out and just pay you in an installment sale over the next 3 or 4 or 5, or agreed upon time frame, and was able to help them with taxes, right? So if you can just find a win-win for someone and make it work, and especially in that situation, your story, it had been on the MLS for so long that a lot of people think things like LoopNet or Crexy or some of these, they're just saying they go on there sometimes to die, right? So there's some deals that are really not that great, and somebody's unreasonable about something. But if you're willing to look, and I think today, actually, we're going to get into this here in a minute, but a lot of people are very cautious. And you said something before we started. You said saved money, don't make money. And so, but you feel actually it is a great time right now. It's a great time for multifamily. Some investors have had some challenges the last couple of years, but why is it a great time right now?
Well, I think the way that your partner there, your friend that's partnered up on those types of deals, that is one of the finest ways to make a deal even today, using an owner finance or land contract, one of those two methodologies to get deals closed. It keeps the owner happy, and it keeps the seller happy, and you as the buyer happy as well, right? You get to get control of the deal, they get to get an annuity. The coolest thing of all is that, at least in the land contract model, okay, you get to control the asset, you have a piece of paper that says you're going to get control of the asset after some set amount of time, but the transfer doesn't take place. So why is that important? Well, once a transfer takes place, your taxes go up tremendously.
Yeah.
If you're able to get a head start for those 2 years or whatever, 2-3 years, to improve the property, improve the cash flow, do what needs to happen to build the value of the asset. So in 2 years, when that balloon comes up from the land contract, what happens? Well, now you get to have that exchange take place later, right? In a refi, so to speak. And you also get to enjoy those 2 years of actually improving the cash flow, so you can actually build a war chest, so to speak, and then go ahead and get the refi done. And of course, the government's going to find out, they're going to want to crank the taxes on you, juice the taxes. So it'll give you a chance to figure out the tax strategy to battle that. But there's always a deal out there. Listen, brokers are starving right now. They're starving for deals, right?
Oh.
Starving for good deals right now. So the way you get deals done today is using creative financing to put deals together. Now, the real question then becomes, how do you find them, right? I think what's happening right now here in the Midwest, I can tell you in the Midwest, many of those loans that people bought or had, like from when people bought these properties 3-4 years ago, some of those terms are coming up. Terms come up all the time, guys, all the time. There's always something happening. And now it's going to go from 3% to 7%. Oh my God, what the hell am I going to do now? I need to unload this thing.
Yeah.
But if you're not in the game, if nobody knows who you are, you're not in touch with the lenders, you're not in touch with the brokers, you're not in touch with the inspectors, you're not in touch with all the people that are in this game that do it, and nobody knows that you are ready to transact or willing to transact, nothing's going to happen. You won't nobody even knows you exist. So a big part of it is staying engaged with the local market. Yeah. And letting them know that you're still up for doing deals, because there are still ways to do deals. I think everybody's stuck on the fact that I have to go to a bank to get a deal done. Like, listen, I'm working on another deal right now. And yes, I am talking to a lender to come up with, okay, what can you lend me on this type of deal, right? I'm not going to open with that. I'm going to go with I'm going to try an owner finance type scenario, or a land contract type scenario, or something along those lines. Because if I can get the money for less, keep the seller happy, and get the deal done, why would I do that than try to go get some expensive money from a lender, right? If I could do that, I'll do that, right?
Yeah.
So especially, I think most people are saying that in the next 2 years, rates are going to come down. My crystal ball broke this morning, man. I'm sorry. I would have been able to tell you for sure.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. And that's, and Warren Buffett talks a lot about this too, is that, when we have, there's incredible demand for multifamily. We're short 4 to 7 million apartment units, or housing units nationally. We know it will be worth more in the future. Right now, the lending is kind of the issue, but Buffett talks about, you get paid really well when there's a kind of a short-term uncertainty, right? So when that, hey, this is long-term, it's clear. The short-term, we don't know. And actually, there's actually some great deals out there now, right? If you can you'll find people now that have to sell. There's deals that, are struggling, where valuations are down on things. They have to sell. And we're starting to see that stuff open up. And it's just keeping your eyes open. And I think what has happened, some investors I talked to one investor, and he was in, some capital call situation. We have a capital call going on, but he's in 5 different capital calls, right? So for him, his mind is like, oh, alert, multifamily bad, whatever. But it's that whole, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. There's some fear in the market right now, but when you buy a place, your buying price is fixed, but you can always refinance potentially later, or you can always, but we know. So it's just kind of a weird time right now. And even I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal this morning or last night about, it was saying it's to buy a home, it's the most challenging time versus renting. It's like a 50% premium to buy versus to rent, but that it's going to shake out over time. Either rents are going to start rising more, or the prices, some of the stuff is going to come down. Do you see there be kind of like a natural inflection? I know it can take sometimes years for pricing to, things can go up over time and then it comes down. But a lot of people are just watching saying, I want to get in at the perfect time. And obviously there is no perfect time, but I guess what advice do you have somebody who's kind of sitting on their hands and saying, hey, I'm just going to wait, because a lot of people are.
Yeah, there's no time to wait. Here's the thing. If you're waiting, that immediately tells me that you're inexperienced. And I don't mean any offense by that, because it's more like the reason why you're stalling is because it's your brain trying to keep you safe. We have these mechanisms in our brain, right? And the reason why when you're a young man and you're afraid to pick up the phone to call that girl, you're afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
Everybody gets that. Why? Because you have the voice of 10,000 generations rolling around in your brain. It's like, well, like people ask, what do you mean by that? Here's what I mean. Okay. What I mean is that back 10,000 years ago, if a male went to go talk to a female and the female rejected the male, all the people in the tribe would go either ostracize this guy or beat the hell out of him. All that stuff still exists in our brains.
Right.
Still there, right? That's why our species, this goes beyond, this is biology I'm talking now, right? All that stuff is still there. That's why we get afraid. So the only way you get unafraid is through knowledge. So you go get the mentorships, you go get in the right groups, you go find the great partners that can help you get the deal over the line. That's what it takes to get the deals done, right? It's really what it takes to get the deals done. But I mean, ultimately, it's about putting together a great deal structure that makes sense for both parties and keeps both parties happy, right? And that's how deals are going to get done in these tough times. I mean, because here's the thing: something you said is very important to reiterate. At 3%, when the rates were 3%, 50 million people were qualified to buy. At 8%, less than half, 22 million are now qualified to buy. Okay. I saw there's data on this. I forget the source. I think it might have been on CNBC or something, right? So now literally the market of buyers, qualified buyers, have been cut in half. So now they're renting. Here's a more damning part though. The more damning part to all this is that the individuals that are earning the money, their incomes pretty much stayed flat this entire time. So the cost of the dollar, the value of the dollar has gone down. Inflation continues to go up. We're still sending money everywhere, right? We're offshoring our inflation. That's why we're sending money to Ukraine and Israel, and I'm funding all these projects overseas. We're trying to get rid of all the inflation. Eventually, the inflation is going to come home.
Oh,
right?
sure. Absolutely.
The thing is, though, for everyone else that was earning, say, 200K this year, they're probably earning 200K last year in some realm of 200K the year prior. It's pretty much flat or less, because the same $100 or same $1,000 that we have today is actually worth 20% less than $1,000 back in 2020. Like, think about that for a second.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Right? The value was lost. So you have to put your money into hard assets, regardless. I mean, if you're going to be in the game, right? Otherwise, we're becoming a renter nation. Eventually, people won't be able to afford their homes. It's just not possible.
Yeah, no, it really is a great point that, we have this stuff. I mean, it's in recent history, it's unprecedented. I was born in 1980. It was actually the year where inflation, got up to close to 20%. And, there was a lot of, interest rates were super high. And, people don't realize, this is why I love macroeconomics, right? It's like, you can just only pay attention to real estate. And a lot of people did that in 2008, got destroyed because they weren't paying attention to other things, right? And so we're seeing just that, hey, I just presented this at our summit recently, that over basically a 2-3 year period, we had a 43% increase in the currency, physical and in bank account. They just printed money for everything. And so we know that's going to happen. So the only way to really get around that is to buy things that, hold their value. I mean, to get out of dollars. And that's why I tell people that, the confused mind will say to wait, but that's like one of the worst things you can do, because if you just sit and wait, then you're going to just see, that's one, certainly we know that the value of your purchasing, your dollars are going to be worth less. So putting it into things that actually hedge that, right? And we know it's not always even. It's not like things just, you put in, all of a sudden things go up. We've seen certain assets, and I do precious metals as well. They go down. It's like, people are like, what's going on? But over the long run, these things generally do very well. Well, what are some other, I know you're doing a lot of things. So you're doing multifamily, you're doing triple net. What are some other things either in real estate or outside of real estate that you are interested in right now that you're looking at?
So right now we're also helping people get into the real estate game. And through our education business, education and media. And there's still a lot of people that want to get into real estate for all those reasons that I pointed out earlier. The US dollar is losing value. We're on a fiat currency. And most people don't even understand what that means. It's funny. Like they think fiat, they're talking about the car, the Italian car. Remember those Italian cars?
Fiat 500, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's not what I'm talking about, guys. You know, I'm talking about like, and when the whole planet is on fiat currency and they use the US dollar as the de facto from, if you go back to World War II, we promised the world that we would keep all the gold safe. Well, we did a very bad job of that when we went on fiat currency back in 1971. So when inflation is running rampant in Canada, running rampant in Colombia, running rampant in all the Western countries, why would that be? Well, because we are printing the hell out of the US dollar.
Yeah.
That's why. Everything is pegged to the US dollar. It wouldn't make sense otherwise, right? If everything's pegged to the US dollar, why, if our inflation is going to go up, everybody's inflation is going to go up too, right?
Right.
You have to have your money to hard assets. And many of our students, they recognize that. They understand that, you know what? I mean, I need to be putting my money into hard assets that actually produce more cash. Because here's the thing, when the US dollar goes away, and it will go away, right? And I'm not being conspiracy theory guy here. I mean, every single fiat currency has gone to zero. Every single one.
Yes,
100% failure rate. Look it up. You'll see it. Okay. And they're going to switch us to this digital dollar. That started in July. It's already around. It's already started. Like the Fed already has that. I don't know if did you hear about that back in July 4th it was released.
Well, the Fed now is part of it. And what do you mean? Explain
Fed
that.
now. Fed now, that's what it is. That is the foundation of what's going to be eventually the digital dollar. That's the same thing.
Well, it's really interesting about this. I think I have some thoughts on this. We actually do a lot of ATM machine investing, and I think that you know, we have in some way the dollar already is digital because there's, you know, it's a lot of, you know, transactions that are happening through credit and other things, but there's about 10% of the population that doesn't even have a bank account. So it's interesting that would really displace those guys. The second thing is that there's huge privacy issues around if, you know, immediately they know everything that every transaction, they can actually, you know, control like, okay, well now because this political party, they're not going to allow you to buy guns. They're not going to allow you to spend money on certain things or alcohol or whatever, you know, certain things, so they can control everything. And it really, I look at China, and they're trying to do this with social scores and they're doing other things. They're having trouble, but they're doing it. And I mean, do you really think that is inevitable? That it's too attractive to world leaders and U.S. leaders to say it's going to happen? That there's really no other way around it?
So I grew up in Canada.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's happening in Canada.
No, it has happened in Canada. The trucker strike. Remember the trucker strike?
Oh yeah. No, that got me interested more in gold and silver and owning some crypto, because I was like, people giving money to support a cause they believed in, their assets were being frozen, which was unbelievable. Yeah. I
mean, and that's the thing. I mean, and most people just see it on the TV or they hear about it on the radio or whatever. They think, oh, that'll never happen here. Hey, did you hear that one story about how this government shut down an entire country, the freest country on the planet, for 2 years? Hey, did you hear about that? No, that would never happen. Well, guess what?
Never happened.
Guess what? It certainly did. Right in the middle of an election cycle. Imagine that.
What a surprise.
Wow. What a surprise. I wonder if it's going to happen again. Let me see. Come on. It's like, that's why getting into hard assets, getting into something that no matter what happens, you'll still get cash flow from it. The cool thing about real estate is that it's a real asset and the banks are willing to fund it, right? 80% of it sometimes, maybe these days it might be 75. The cool thing though, when Germany, back in the early 1900s, they went through like several currencies, many different currencies, very unstable time for that country. But if you owned real estate, they can go through whatever currency they want. You still own the real estate. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So as long as you have a stake in that asset and they change the currency today, then tomorrow it changes again, and tomorrow it changes again, you still have a stake on that asset. That's the one good thing about here in the States, is that as long as the Constitution stays intact, we still own our stake in that real estate. And that's why you want to have hard assets considering where we're going. And look, if I'm wrong, what's the worst that can happen? Now you own real estate and it's cash flowing. But you know what? If I'm right, and most of the guys, I'm not the only one that's saying all this. If you follow Robert Kiyosaki, Peter Schiff, any economist will tell you this is where we're going. You want to be in hard assets right now. So many of our students are doing that. So we have our training programs, our masterminds that for 50 weeks, we go and coach people how to do this kind of stuff. We also have an online community where everybody shares their deals with the community, and they ask their input, and we go through the deals live too. So it's like I'm helping that individual underwrite a deal. Could be anywhere in the United States, doesn't matter. We help people get into these deals, and if they lack the experience, they lack the lending experience, they lack the investors, we help line all that stuff for them. So we help them with the personal branding, the whole 9 yards. We are intent on trying to help people get into the real estate game. That's why we make it 50 weeks, because I knew that a 2-week course is not going to do anything to help anybody. It just doesn't. It had to be longer. We already have students buying places already. They're already buying property right now. There have been 6 weeks into the program.
Yeah, amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you're providing value in the space, and I think, like we said, we were just saying, there is incredible opportunity to be involved. What I was going to ask you maybe one last question. Obviously, how people can get in touch with you, but what's one kind of piece of parting advice that you'd give, and also how can people reach you?
Well, like I said, scared money don't make money, right? So, and the reason why you're scared is because you don't have the knowledge, right? Or maybe you do have the knowledge. Maybe you're reading all the books. You read the book every night, you listen to the podcast and do all that stuff, but yet you've been doing that for the last 2 years and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. You have to ask yourself why that is. And it's because you're doing something wrong. It's your self-preservation that's keeping you from doing what needs to be done. That's another reason why getting into a mastermind is a great way to overcome that. You get around people that are doing deals, that are seeing success, and then you realize that you can be successful too. Because I can tell you, I remember when I got my first check from this duplex that I had, and I'm like, holy shit, I got a check. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I got a check, right? Someone's paying me. I couldn't believe it. It worked. Like I should have been surprised, right? But it's kind of like that's when it's real. And most people don't think it could happen to them. But I'm telling you, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So, and that's what we do. We give people the courage that they need, the knowledge, the tools, everything they need to be successful. So I think that with a weekly touch point of jumping on a call to give you that extra boost is what people need to be successful. That's why we do it. So yeah, if you go to multifamilyaccelerator.com, that's a great way to at least check out the program, see what we do, and get started there.
Yeah, great, man. Well, I appreciate you being here today. I really appreciate the value added in this space, man. And it's always great to connect, man. Let's definitely stay in touch, and encourage people to reach out to Agostino. This has been a lot of fun, man. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, so that was a great interview with Agostino Pintus. I really like that guy. I think he's got a lot of great things to share. And again, we're both bald, which gives us something to relate on as well. But really, I think one theme that comes out of this is that the confused mind will just say to wait, right? We will wait forever. We will wait until we die, and we will never invest in anything if we really have our own kind of way. Most people if there's any sort of uncertainty or confusion, then they don't want to invest. And as that saying from Warren Buffett, when things are unclear in the short term, but the long term is clear, it's actually a great time to invest. So, right now there is some fear in the market, and the tendency is to want to hold off and wait. And so, and I encourage folks just to continue to press in and try to learn and really take those steps. If you haven't checked out my new book, Fire Yourself, right here, it is available on Amazon. We are just launching it. We're super excited about it. Got some great feedback. One guy said he was brought to tears on the plane when he came to our conference recently. in Los Angeles. And just that, a lot of us don't realize we think we're doing things to develop passive income, or really just creating for ourselves another job or something that maybe way down the road, maybe will produce income for us. So I encourage you to fire yourself, learn how to replace your working income with passive income in 3 years or less. You can find it at Amazon, anywhere you find books. And again, thanks for taking the time to educate yourself. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Mailbox Money Show.
You've been listening to the Mailbox Money Podcast. For more free resources, articles, and videos, go to bronsonequity.com. There you can download your copy of the special report, The Single Best Investment Strategy During and After a Pandemic. None of the information shared here is an offer to buy a specific investment, and this is for educational purposes only. Consult your financial, legal, and tax professionals and use your own common sense before making any investment decisions. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time for more Mailbox Money.